I want to start sort of at the beginning of the spectrum. So you receive so many people from around the world every day, and so do I, writing in because they can't find love,
Mm,
because they have a string of relationships that have failed, and they have a story about needing to find love,
mm,
about I can't find love, about and I as a mom, having had two daughters who are now in really great relationships, seeing them chase it, seeing them like attach their value around somebody else, picking them, loving them. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Where do you begin when it comes to building this new skill around how you think about love?
mhm.
Where would you tell somebody? Is it rule number one?
It is rule number 1 in the book, but I think you've just brought out a beautiful point that I wanna respond to, and it's that we all have a story that we're writing about love. And the interesting thing is that our mind makes us fiction writers, and we're writing our own fictional version of what our love story looks like. And it changes every single day. One day we feel like anyone would be lucky to have us, but then there's months that go by when we feel we're completely unlovable and we're not enough. And I think it's really interesting because we both know this, that the story you're saying to yourself, the story you're telling yourself naturally becomes your reality because you're looking for the facts. You're looking for those truths in your life. So if you think to yourself, no one's attracted to me right now, you're now going around looking for how many people are not attracted to you and don't look at you. It's almost like when you make a decision to say, I'm thinking about buying this brand of car, or I'm thinking about buying this brand of whatever it may be. Now you see that brand everywhere, you hear it
Right,
everywhere.
right.
It's not that suddenly everyone just started buying that car on the streets or buying that product or brand, but you see it everywhere because it's at the forefront of your consciousness. And so if the story is, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready, and I'm unlovable, which is a very true and real story of the people that are writing in for us, that unfortunately is what you're going to perpetuate. And that's why rule 1 is about what you do alone. Because if you're waiting for someone to love you, to believe you're lovable, that means you're saying that the day they change their mind, you're now immediately unlovable.
Hmm.
And so you're deciding whether you're lovable or not based on whether someone else thinks you're worthy of love. And I think that that sets us up for a lot of pain, a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. There's this beautiful thought from Paul Tillich, and he talks about how in the English language, we have two words for being alone, but we only talk about one of them. And that word is loneliness. I'm lonely. I feel alone. It's been a lonely day. It's been a lonely year. I'm experiencing
Right.
loneliness. But we never use the other word. And the other word is solitude. It's just not used in our vocabulary. And he says that loneliness is the weakness of being alone. And solitude is the glory, or as I say, the strength of being alone. And what I want people to understand is that when you take the time on your own to do three things. The first thing is you have to learn about yourself. You have to learn what you like, what you don't like, what experiences you're into, what you're not into, because what we don't realize is when you start dating someone, you adopt all of their likes and dislikes only in a few years to feel like you don't know who you are
Right.
anymore and you lose yourself.
Well, this is going to sound like a dumb question, but I have to ask it.
Yeah.
How the hell do you figure out what you like? No, I'm not.
So,
I'm
yeah, it's a
serious.
good
Like if
question.
you've
Yeah.
always been somebody,
Yeah.
so let's role play.
No, no, no. Let's
You're
do
my
it. Yeah.
life coach.
Yeah.
Okay. My parents are divorced. I have had terrible relationships through high school and college, Jay. And the last person I was with cheated on me. And every time I go out to the bars with my friends, all my friends get approached by people.
Hmm.
I don't know who I like. How
Yeah.
do I find love? Like, how
Yes.
to coach me?
So first mistake, and
Yes.
I wouldn't say this in a coaching session, but to speed it up for us, first mistake, you're already thinking it's about what do you like about the partner. I'm saying what do you like about yourself?
And where do
What do
you
you like
start
in
if
your
you
own life?
don't know
So very
yourself?
simple. When you go out for a dinner,
Uh huh.
as soon as you get back, you know whether you like the food at that restaurant or not, don't you?
Yes.
If you went out for a burrito, you know whether you like it or not. If you went out for Italian, you know whether you like it or not. How about we start doing that with people, places, and projects? How about we start reflecting when we take on a project at work? After we complete it, let's sit there and reflect. Don't reflect while you're doing it because that can often be misleading. Sometimes a piece of food comes out and it looks awkward or uncomfortable or it's a weird color. Then you try it and it's incredible. So it's only by trying do we know. And so after you finish a project at work, did I like it or not? What did I like about it? What didn't I like about it? Was that my comfort or was that my discomfort? 3 questions, really easy. Did I like it or not? What did I like about it or not like about it? And what I didn't like about it, was that just because it was uncomfortable or is it because I actually found it terrible? And if you did that with people, groups you spend time with, so many of us never change our friends over a decade because we never reflected when we left.
Mm,
You'd never go back to a restaurant if you had a bad experience.
that's
But you,
true.
but you keep going back to the same
Oh my
person.
God, we crawl back.
We crawl
Jay, we
back
beg them back in our
because
lives.
we never took that time to reflect because it was always about them. We make it about them. So I'll give you
Oh,
a
I love.
relation.
Okay, so stop. I want to
Yes.
make sure everybody just heard that. Skill number one, rule number one, let yourself be alone. But what I want to say is this was the huge paradigm for shift for me.
Mm,
So much of us are chasing and seeking love. And step one that I just got from you is you got to make it about yourself and not about the other person.
mhm.
And until you understand the things you love and the things that make you come alive when you're alone, that's the beginning of this.
Yeah, we keep making lists of what we want in someone else, right? We keep making a list of, I want them to be kind, I want them to be tall, I want them. So all of our energy is being pointed outwards rather than saying, who am I becoming? Who am I striving to grow into? What is it that I'm passionate about? When you're focused on all of that, all of a sudden you feel you have so much more to offer in a relationship. You walk into it recognizing that someone would be fortunate to be with you and you'd be fortunate to be with them because you have something to share. I think most of us, we walk into relationships because we're scared of being alone. And when we do that, studies show we do 3 things. If you're feeling alone, if you're scared of being alone and single and you're going into a relationship because of that fear, research shows 3 things happen. The first thing is you're guaranteed to settle for less than you deserve. Guaranteed. The second thing is you're more likely to be dependent on that person because you think they're out of your league. And so now you'll become, do, mold, fold, become anything they want you to be.
Mm.
And the third is you're going to be scared to leave them because being with them in your mind is better than being alone. And so you think about all of us who've been in that situation before. And by the way, it's not your fault.
Have you
Movies
been
have
in that
done this.
situation before?
I have been in a situation before many times in my teens
Yeah.
where I sadly, and I regret this, I showed love to people in order for them to validate me.
Mm.
So it wasn't that I didn't like them, but I showed them more extreme forms of passion and love because I thought they'd say, Jay, that's amazing. You're the best person I've ever been with. I just wanted to hear those words.
Yeah.
And that comes back from my childhood trauma of being bullied for being overweight, for being bullied for being Indian, for having a group of girls who lined up next to my football match when I was 11 years old shouting, she's out of your league.
What?
Yeah, so I was 11 years old in primary school or elementary school, as you say in the US, and I was there was one girl in school that everyone had a crush on, right? You're 11 years old, and there was one girl that every guy had a crush on, and all the guys knew and all the girls knew, but she didn't know we had a crush on her. And one day I came in late from I think a doctor's appointment or something like that, and everyone was laughing when I came in. And I didn't know what they were laughing about, so I sat down, and everyone was giggling at me and pointing at me, and I was thinking, "What's going on here?" And then one of my friends slipped me a note, and the note, I opened it, and it said, "She knows." And I was like, "She knows what?" I realized that all the guys and all the girls had told her that the only person in the class that had a crush on her was me, and I was considered one of the least desirable people in my class because of my weight and the color of my skin. And so for the rest of that week, all the girls bullied me standing behind. Literally, we're playing foot. When I say football, I mean soccer, but
Right.
we're playing football, and I was a goalkeeper because that was the only position I'd be allowed to play. And the girls lined up behind the goal and shouted out, "She's out of your league. I can't believe you thought you could get her. I can't believe that you thought she could be with you." And I realized that that trauma, that experience transferred over to my teens, when now all I wanted was a girl to say, "You're the best. You're amazing. You're incredible," because of that other statement I'd heard all those years before.
You know, it's amazing how we have these experiences and it just blocks our ability to let love in because we don't believe that we're worth it.
Yeah.
That also, I'm realizing, impacted how you first showed up when you
Mhm.
started dating your wife, Roddy.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Because, I know
Absolutely.
that you were in business school when you first heard a monk speak at the age of 18, and you felt the call to become a monk. And did you meet Roddy before you became a monk, or how did you guys meet?
Yeah. So going back to that moment, and then I'll dive into that question. I feel like you spend your life seeking validation.
Mhm.
You then don't get it in the way you wanted it, and then you finally decide you have to validate yourself.
Yes.
And that journey can be 10 years, 20 years, or even 50 years. And so the shorter we make that journey, the better it is. I met the monks when I was 18 years old, and I met Radhi just before, 6 months before I was about to go and become a monk. So my final year of university. And the way we met was I was using the last 6 months, I would use all my weekends to go to the temple in my local area to train. And to be honest, just to stay out of trouble, because I was like, if I'm at university during my weekends, I'm going to get into trouble. So I need to go and practice. And I was asked to show a lady, came in one day, she was around my mom's age, and I was asked to show her around to do some services and some rituals at the temple. I've never been asked to do this before this day. I've never been asked to do it again. And at the end of it, she said to me, she said, "I have a daughter that I'd love to introduce to you. I'd love for her to meet someone who's into spirituality and meditation. She's probably around your age." And I said, "Well, I'm so sorry. I'm going to go off and become a monk, but I'd introduce her to my sister." So that woman that I'd met happened to be Radhi's mom. And she brought Radhi in to meet me. And I introduced her to my sister. And I saw Radhi. I probably exchanged like 3 words with her. I thought she was stunning and attractive and beautiful, hence what I was saying about finding her attractive. But in my head, I was like, no, 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 I'm training to be a monk. I need to stay focused. Like, don't worry about it. And so her and my sister became friends. When I came back from the monastery, her and my sister had become really close. Radhi was at my house all the time. My sister was at hers all the time. And then my sister was our middle person, our wing person, who helped us get the message across. So we met before, and it was 4 years from, and then I found out that her mother that day prayed that her daughter would find someone like me. And I found that out many years later. And now I know she hates me because we moved to LA. So,
Oh, your mother-in-law
yeah,
hates
that
you.
my mother-in-law hates me because we moved to LA.
So you mentioned though that you've made mistakes in
Yeah,
love, and
yeah,
I want to just connect
yeah.
that experience of being bullied as a kid and then feeling like if you just really get somebody to love you back,
Hmm.
then you're going to feel worthy
Hmm.
for how you showed up in the beginning with your now wife.
Hmm. Yeah, so I realized that I don't I think another big thing for me was chasing the approval of a male figure. My dad was quite aloof when I was growing up, and I've always considered my dad to be more of a friend than a father.
Mm.
And even till this day, my dad's my friend. I can always talk to him, but it was my mom who taught me how to like shave my beard, and like that's why I have great grooming habits.
I
Like
was going to say, is that why you
take
still
care of
have a
my
beard? Did she
skin.
not
Yeah,
do a
yeah.
good job with
No,
that? No,
yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
kidding.
But my mom taught me how to take care of my skin. Like my mom was the one who was teaching me and guiding me through all the things that you'd think a dad would do. And what was really interesting about that is I think the monks became my first male role models.
Mm.
And I was looking for them to validate me. Now, the interesting thing when you're trying to get validated by monks is they don't validate you. They're just trying to teach you the truth. And so that's when I learned to validate myself during that time. And it was really powerful. But here's the interesting thing: we're conditioned so deeply.
Mm.
We've watched so many movies, we've listened to so many songs, we've seen so many cliches and examples of what love truly is that we snap back into those habits. as soon as we're back. So as soon as I came back from the monastery and I started dating Radhi around 6 months later, I snapped back into all my old habits because that's how strong it is. So if anyone ever feels compelled and you keep thinking, I keep dating the same person again and again, I don't know what's
Yes.
wrong with me.
Yes. What is wrong with us,
Yeah.
Jay?
Well, that's the thing. It's that the conditioning of the gifts and gaps that our parents left become the map of how we look for love. So if our parents gave us gifts, we're looking for people who give us those same gifts. If
Hmm.
your parents were present, if they turned up to your dance recital, if they turned up to your soccer game, you now are looking for someone who's forever present. Unlikely as an adult. That's not always going to happen. And if your parents left gaps, maybe they didn't believe in you. Maybe they criticized you. Maybe they compared you to a sibling or a family member or a cousin. Now you have that gap and you're hoping someone else is going to fill it. And what I learned during my time as a monk was whatever you want from someone else, first give it to yourself. If you're looking from compliments from someone else, give it to yourself first. If you're looking for understanding from someone else, understand yourself first. And if you're looking for validation and affection, do that for yourself first. That's why I love your high five habit. Like it's perfect, right? The reason why it works is you're asking everyone to look in the mirror every morning and give themselves exactly what they need from the day, and they can give it to themselves in the mirror. You're high-fiving yourself. Like that is a perfect demonstration of how deeply you believe in this.
I'm going to ask Jay to do something in a minute because he's in the middle of explaining rule number 2, which is don't ignore your karma.
Yeah.
Um, and you have this beautiful meditation, but I just want to offer up something
Mm,
to someone who may be listening and feeling like, but, one of the most simple exercises you could ever do if you feel like you just can't break through in this area of being in a healthy relationship or truly finding or attracting love with the right person. Just write down on a piece of paper everything you're looking for and then be that person
mhm,
yourself.
mhm,
And something funny happens. You're like actually looking for things that are a void. And if you be those things for yourself, that person starts to show up.
mhm,
But Jay has an even deeper tool. You have this younger self meditation.
mm.
Would you be willing to just walk us through that meditation for just even a minute of
Yeah,
what that is like?
yeah. Eyes closed?
Yeah,
Amazing. I
yeah.
love that. Yeah,
Okay.
I'd love to do that. I think so. For anyone who's doing this, I'm just adding a disclaimer that this can be emotive, it can be challenging. And so please do this when you're in a safe space, when you are uh, feeling more steady and you're feeling at ease. And maybe do it when you can follow it up with a bit of journaling or a bit of moment of reflection and maybe even a conversation with a partner or a friend or someone that you trust. And so just to give that before we dive in. But I just want everyone to gently and softly close their eyes and just take a moment to be present with your breath, the seat or bed or floor beneath you, and whatever sounds are in your environment. I want you to visualize yourself meeting your 13-year-old self. Visualize their face. Visualize what you were probably wearing. Visualize yourself at that age. And as you get closer, give them a warm, loving embrace. And now, I want you to share with your younger self everything you wish you heard at that age. Everything you wish you were told, you can give it to them right now. You are enough. You're worthy of love. You have what it takes, whatever it may be for you. Shower them with all the love that you deserve then and now. And now ask them what wisdom or insight they have for you. Just listen carefully, and if nothing comes up immediately, allow it to arise, even after this meditation, tomorrow or this week. What advice or insight or words does your younger self have for you? Once again, give them a warm, loving embrace, all the love, all the connection, and know that that inner child is forever within you, and you can revisit them, shower them with love whenever you like. And when you're ready, you can gently and softly open your eyes and just be present.
Thank you.
Thank you
That's
for
beautiful.
allowing us that space.
I literally, do you mind if I share too much?
Please, I'd love to hear if you're so willing to.
Yeah, saw myself standing there with this Dorothy Hamill haircut, which was that famous figure skater. Let me tell you, the 13-year-old Mel Robbins does not look like the average 13-year-old today.
That's why I picked that awkward age. Like, no one at 13, I don't think there's anyone who is.
Oh man, and I've got this like Benetton sweater on. I don't know why I'm
I
focused
love
on the
it.
clothes,
That's
but
good. No, no, that's really good visualization. Like the more, I mean, if we had longer and as I describe in the book, the more detailed, the better. That's
yes,
great. That's
yes.
fantastic. Yeah.
Because of all the people that you have requested that I interview on this podcast, there is one person who you have asked for over and over and over again, Jay Shetty.
I define love as when you like someone's personality,